Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now we're taking a look at Matic. Matic is an awesome coin, as you probably already know if you're currently invested or trying to consider investment. Do your own research, of course. There's no fundamentals here. There's strictly just technical charts. But my goal here is to ensure that you have best practice and you can find a good entry point by giving you some good examples. All right, so I'm not a financial advisor. I have years of experience, however, keep that in mind. But this is for educational purposes only. Again, always do your own research. Furthermore, I have a link to my Patreon account down below. That was who made this request, so thank you all to my members for requesting I cover this again. I appreciate your patience, as well as the fact that I have a free Telegram community. That is in the description below too, so reference that on your own time. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right to it. Alright folks, let's go ahead and take a closer look at Matic. And what we're doing here, before we get into Matic, we're just going to take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, get a baseline on the overall market and see kind of what's going on there. Alright, so let's take a look at that first and see where we're at. So Bitcoin. Good news, Bitcoin finally for a change. Again, this isn't concrete, but it is likely that Bitcoin might be starting a second bull run. It is looking pretty good here in the overall sentiment, but generally speaking, minus all the fundamentals, we're strictly just looking at technical data here. The previous support and resistance level is 38,800. We're above that. It was tested again here recently, it looks like. So we can see that it tested and rejected. So price is staying above the current support level, but below the 50-day moving average. So that's kind of holding the price in place. What should happen is it should bounce above and continue on its merry way, but it's not a bad thing to see this kind of consolidation right here. We'd be okay with Bitcoin going sideways for a while. It'd be nice to see that. Furthermore, we've got a previous support line, which is now a resistance at about 46,600, and the 200-day moving average is up over 50,000. We won't probably see anything happen there for a while. We're not going to worry about these other indicators for now, just because we want just a bird's eye view, see what's going on. Ethereum, same thing as well. We're looking at Ethereum on the 4-hour chart. Now this tells us basically that Ethereum is mirroring Bitcoin. Okay, can you see the kind of the same exact downward momentum and the same upward push? So it's likely that we'll see Ethereum continue that for a little while, because what's interesting is Ethereum usually works as a fallback for Bitcoin. When Bitcoin does poorly, Ethereum does very well. Ethereum hasn't done very well recently, obviously with all the news, whereas some other altcoins have. So just keep that in mind. I think a lot of people are migrating to other coins like Matic, ADA, XRP, some other ones that are grabbing all that market capitalization, and Ethereum is kind of, not saying drawing dead, but it's running parallel with Bitcoin. Again, something to be mindful of. This is the 4-hour chart for Ethereum. Now looking at Matic, I've got a few things here from before I was working on with one of my consultations, so bear with me, I'll just go ahead and remove that. And what we're looking at here is the 1-day chart first. We're going to work our way down, and we're going to see what's going on here. So first of all, 1-day chart, something to note is that Matic has a tendency of increasing rapidly, selling off to consolidate, and then doing the same thing over again. It didn't have a chance to consolidate up here around 175, 180 because of the fact that the China candlestick happened, right? But something to also note here as well is the fact that Matic performs very well outside of Bitcoin. Okay, so obviously we saw this retracement. That had to happen with how hard it shot up. But we look at Bitcoin, look at it. This is the Elon candle here, right on 5/12. So May 12th. Again, Pacific Standard Time, May 12th. That's what happened. We find May 12th on here. It is right here, this guy right here, this one. That's May 12th. So instead of Bitcoin selling off and consistently going down since then, Matic decided it wanted to go up. And what it did is it increased 154% in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. That's pretty insane. So that's awesome. That basically just means that Matic is undervalued and essentially needs to be at a higher price. So I'm going to say that here that the average range, the true range for Matic should be right where it's at, 180 to about 220. So I'm going to guess that we're going to see some price action in the next few days right in this range here. Okay, but either way, that's why we had to see a retracement, and then the China candlestick here didn't help at all. It came down harder and faster than it really should have. But now it's going back up because the price was too low for too long. Okay. So that is kind of what we're looking at for the 1-day chart. We've seen the most amount of volume here as well. And the RSI is actually pretty low, all things considered. So, I mean, we're still looking at like 58.60. So it could come up over 70 and stay above 70 for a while and still be okay. Okay. I'll talk more about that later, but when we're looking at the MACD, it basically tells us that there's a shift in momentum and we're likely going to see a bullish trend moving forward. All right, looking at the 4-hour chart, this is what we're looking at here. And bear in mind, these are previous support and resistance levels from yesterday. So obviously it's done very well. But what we'll do here is we'll just go ahead and turn on the moving averages, see what that looks like. Awesome. The price is above both moving averages. In other words, the 50-day moving average, price is trending above. It actually tried to come back down, retrace, and it bounced off. That's great. That shows that the 50-day moving average is still working as a strong support as it was previously. 200-day moving average, not really relevant in this case. That's too far away. But just bear in mind that RSI is still under 70 even after this strong bull run. And what's great is it had a short period of consolidation here to let the RSI calm down. I like to see bull runs do that. The best bull runs are the ones that step up, go lateral, up, lateral, and then they continue that staircase pattern. And that essentially gets you there. It's like a sleeper bull run where it just gets there eventually and people don't even see it coming, right? So this is awesome. I like the movement. MACD implies that the momentum is shifted bullishly, so we're all in good shape. I love everything I see here from Matic. 15-minute chart. Let's just quickly identify a few things here. First of all, I disabled the moving averages, the simple moving averages first, because that helps me understand, more so to focus on the VWAP and the EMA, right? So to clarify, with the VWAP, this is a volume weighted average price. If you're new to the channel, it's basically just the volume expressed as a price. It's the average volume the last 24 hours expressed as a price. Okay. So with that being said, right now the price should be roughly $1.76. Okay. So that's what the volume is telling us in the last 24 hours. Prices above that, it's working as a support level. Okay. So just bear in mind, this is just a consistent support and resistance level that is very reliable to help you understand where the price should be either above or below that line. Okay. Kind of gives you just a general sentiment of what's going on, but it's also a very specific price that you can really rely on. Furthermore, the EMA is another one that I use too. You'll see in the industry, most industry leaders are going to use EMA 9 and 20. I split the difference with the 15 because I like one indicator instead of two, and it works better for me personally. I think it works better because it moves a little faster than the 20, which is the standard, and that essentially puts me one step ahead of the industry leaders, right? That's kind of how I see it. It works well for me. So I use that, but the EMA is essentially a momentum tool. I mean, it tells you what the momentum is. So you can see here, the price action being above EMA this entire time. See it jumps up, bounces, bounce, bounce, continues. That tells you it's a strong bull run. It's something that's going to continue. Okay. So a case in point here would be to identify when the price is over the VWAP and the EMA line, right? Now looking at here, right here, first of all, you see how the price broke out and ramped up above this previous resistance level. This would be a good case in point to consider taking entry when you see these two green bars closing. So I would probably likely take entry right around here. Okay. Now you're probably asking, well, why take entry there? There's no confirmation. Well, truth be told, there's a lot of confirmation here because the price is coming up and you see it bouncing off of this line here. Okay. Apologize, guard dog at duty. So the bottom line here is what I'm trying to get at is that when the price comes up and bounces off the VWAP line and the EMA line, that's giving you confirmation. Okay, so a good entry point is to wait for the price to come up, bounce, and to continue upwards. Okay. Now I said this is a good entry point here because it came up above both support and resistance levels and held for a short period. Plus we have the two solid green bars telling us that's 15 plus 15, total of 30 minutes of confirmation. So I hypothetically would have got in there had I been paying attention to Matic today. Okay. And then of course what I would look for is I just wait for the price to continue upwards and obviously bounce off the EMA. So you see it bounce off the EMA here. This is giving you confirmation the bull run is still in play. Bull run, bull run, bull run. Okay. So what I would likely do is I'd add to my position, I'd maybe add 20% here, maybe 30% here, and so on. Until I get to the point where the RSI is overextended, which is right here on this chart. And as soon as it starts to taper off and come back down, I would sell my position right in this range here. Okay. Now the reason why I say that is because a lot of people use the tactic of RSI being over 70, they take that as their sell signal. That should be an indication of a potential sell signal, but never 100%, right? You never want to just get out as soon as the RSI comes over 70. The reason why is because you miss out on a lot of profit. And look at this here. This is what it boils down to. You see this guy here, as soon as it comes up over 70, that's right in this range here. So you're missing out on this extra profit. It may not seem like a lot, but that is an extra 8%. So 8% in profit missed in one day just because you left your position prematurely when the RSI just peaked over 70 versus coming up all the way and coming back down to 70. That's the way you want to take your exit, okay? So you take your exit right around here, which again is right close to this red candle bar. All right, so again, easier said than done, I recognize that, but try to pay attention to the fact that the EMA is telling you that this is a bullish or a bearish sentiment. If we look back here, the inverse applies, right? You see how the price is coming down? It's under VWAP, first of all. Yeah, so not a good entry point unless you're shorting. And then look, it tries to come up, gets rejected, up, rejected, rejected, consistently getting rejected. It broke above here, but didn't hold for much longer than 2 or 3 hours. And it came back below. So that's a case in point where you want to just pay attention. If you're taking a short-term swing trade, just say 1 to 30 days, look at these things first. It's good to use a 4-hour chart for big picture sentiment, seeing what's going on in the market, obviously with the moving averages, but you use the EMA on the 15-minute chart to identify a good entry point. And you can essentially use this exact same scenario on the 1-minute chart as well. Okay, it translates the exact same. In fact, it's almost more accurate. It's just on a really smaller scale, right? So sometimes you can get these false signals that I don't really love to rely on. That's why I like the 15-minute chart better, even as a day trader, because it gives me that true confirmation that, okay, yeah, I got 30 minutes momentum in this one direction. Maybe this is a good time to take entry. Now, RSI is still under 70. We're looking good. Look at that. RSI stayed under 70 almost this entire time. That's a perfect bull run. It's what we want to see. So long story short here, Matic is doing very well. I do feel like moving forward, we'll see the price range around 0.14. Hold on, let me actually get the big picture here. Yeah, so we should probably see the price around $1.80 upwards of $2.20. It will probably continue on this channel here over the next few days and possibly break out, again, depending on what Bitcoin does. Pay attention to Bitcoin, see what it's doing, because even though Matic isn't reliant on Bitcoin, if Bitcoin has another major sell-off, it is likely for Matic to be impacted by that. But if we can see Bitcoin have 2 or 3 days of consolidation instead of this ridiculous downward spiral we've seen in the last 3 weeks, then we're going to be in great shape to see Matic likely continue to explode, along with many other altcoins. Okay, so here's to hope, right? Either way, thanks again for joining me here. If you haven't already, feel free to reference my Patreon account. That's where I actually get the most requests from my Matic community through my Patreon. So feel free to reference that. That is in the description below. Also, free Telegram community as well. We've got a group of almost 400 plus members already, and we're all learning and growing together. So feel free to join along there if you'd like, and drop a comment below if you have some insight. Thank you so much again for watching. Have a great rest of your day.